Hi guys, my name is Ayanna. I'm a mechanical engineering student and I'm an intern here at Eibach. And today I got curious enough to install a lowering kit on my car. Since I've never done this before, today we have Michael, our engineering manager, to help us out. And we'll get started working on the car. In high school, my dad, he's a mechanic, so I used to work with him. But because he thought I was young, I still mainly observed and wasn't able to actually do. So this experience, I definitely was able to actually do more, which is fun.
Here at Eibach, we offer an educational assistance program that includes internships like Ayanna in our engineering department. She's a current student at Cal Poly Pomona and learning and working here at Eibach from SolidWorks designing to prototyping and installs on vehicles in our garage. We also offer employee education through the local colleges in our neighborhood, and we currently have at least a dozen employees enrolled right now. We look at it as a springboard to the community, thriving down the road.
So now we gotta take off the 2 bolts holding the strut to the knuckle, we gotta take off the sway bar end link, and then there's 3 nuts on the top we gotta take off.
So I thought the install process would be definitely harder because I never really worked with installing suspension components and things like that. I mainly worked with engine bay. So definitely it was a little bit harder than I thought, but also really fun.
We have a couple things here. We have the wheel speed sensor line attached to the strut, and then we have the brake line attached. So we're gonna go ahead and pop out this little clip right here, and then we can get the brake line out, and then we'll just squeeze in these little tabs here, and then we'll take out.
Michael's guidance definitely helped me a lot, especially with the minor things that I wouldn't think about, like the ABS line and the brake line, and how to position everything.
The second you take out that last nut, it's gonna drop out. So you gotta make sure you're ready down here below to catch it.
And definitely when you're taking out the shock from the top mount and then bolting everything, how you have to grab the shock so it doesn't fall, I definitely did not think about that. And then for the major components, like handling the tools, that definitely helped me a lot as well.
For those of you at home, you probably have this type of spring compressor. You're just gonna wanna go ahead and get it on as high up as you can on the spring and as low as you can on the spring, and then go ahead and just take your ratchet and tighten it up until you get enough preload off of it to get this nut off. Here at Eibach, we do have a nice pneumatic spring compressor. Go ahead and use that. We're going to swap out the stock spring for our Eibach Pro Kit spring. Always be sure that you have a top and bottom ID and that they match the OE. So you see the configuration is a little bit different. However, we just run it this way so we kind of eliminate any possibility of noise. But you'll see the IDs do match. So after taking a look at our instructions, we're going to go ahead and replace the stock bump stop with the Eibach supplied bump stop. Don't forget to put back on your dust boot. So we're going to go ahead and put this back.
For the process of compressing springs, I definitely was a little bit fearful. Definitely just with the machine that you use for it, it was a little scary for me, but I think with Michael's guidance, it definitely made me less fearful, and he was really experienced and that helped a lot.
Now we're going to go ahead and reverse the process. So go ahead and position it back up in the strut tower. Alright, there we go.
When we were installing the front suspension compared to the rear suspension, the difference is definitely huge. For the front suspension, it had a lot more intricate details, I would say, especially with the brake line and the ABS line and having that top mount up front too. But then when you have the rear suspension, all we really had to worry about was basically just the rear spring and then the end link and then the bolt in front. And it was just a lot easier than I expected.
Take the spring right out. You'll notice on the bottom isolator, as we drop the top one, that we have 2 little protrusions right there, and so that just keeps the bottom aligned. So that means that the bottom will always be in this position, the top's free to rotate. And then per the instructions, there's no bump stop modification, so we're good to go. We can just put the spring right back in. And one thing to look out for, since this is a multi-link rear suspension, all the different bushings are kind of pulling it in every different way, so you just got to make sure that it's lined up, that you want this parallel with this. So you might kind of have to guide it in as you're going up. So let's go ahead and try that.
So my first thoughts when the car came off the lift was I thought it was pretty low, but Michael actually explained how the car needs to move so all the suspension components can actually relax, and I can see how the car actually looks like lowered. And when I saw it like that, it was a lot better, even more than I expected, and again, it drove just as great as well.